So I'm here with Erik Strom and Erik Nordstrom with Ironridge Capital, and we're going to be discussing what they've been doing with real estate. So I actually glad to have you here, and also I'm Marlon Mueller.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I guess the first question is, how did you guys even get into real estate?
Yeah, that goes back a long time. Like a lot of people, in my teenage years, I read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book and really opened my eyes. I was always taught that you go to college, you get a job, you find something with good benefits. And it was the first time I really had an opening into what investing was like. So that got me hooked on a bunch of other seminars, a bunch of other books. Hey, can you go buy houses, no money down? So in my rusted out Chevy S10 Blazer, I was 18 and I was running around looking at houses, trying to buy them with no money down. And it turned out that you could do that a lot better if you did have money.
That's right.
So I decided, okay, we'll go to college and get a job, and then we'll start investing, once we have some money coming in. Mm-hmm. And in college, the bug just came right back. And I just had a chance meeting with a guy in Ogden Library at the University of Washington. And he said, hey, what about commercial? And he started extolling the benefits of why you would want to do commercial real estate over residential. And I got an internship and got my license when I was a sophomore in college. And
a license to do what?
License to go sell real estate. So
really?
do apartment buildings. There was a brief period where we presented a business plan where we were going to revolutionize the commercial real estate industry in Seattle, Washington. And again, we found out that what we were trying to do had already been kind of done. And so I looked at these two older gentlemen that ran the company, and they had a really good life. They had been syndicating apartment buildings. Mm-hmm. They were vertically integrated. And, they did it really well. A lot of assets under management, great team. And I watched over that year period between internship and, trying to start a company within their company, what they had been able to do. And their net worth had risen dramatically. Their company had grown tremendously. And I just said, hey, would you teach me how to do what you guys do? And they said, yeah, sure. Sit down, they handed me a phone, and I just started cold calling. And by the time I had graduated from college, I had sold a couple buildings. And in my early 20s, I started investing in other people's syndications. And then around 2007, decided that I would do syndications on my own. And that was kind of it. I was hooked from 18, but then redirected into commercial sometime in college. And then I just saw what these guys had been able to do, and it was really cool. So I said, okay, this is my path. This is what I want to do.
That's awesome. Something you just said, it was really significant, was that you asked these guys, would you mentor me?
Yeah.
And they said yes. I have so many times people go, well, who would I go to? I said, just start asking people, because there's people out there like us who've had these kind of experiences, have this insights, knowledge, that are more than happy to help others.
It's so true.
Isn't that great?
It's so true. And the internship that I got with them, it was before they had started their company. They had their license hung at Westlake Associates. And I was trying to go through the bureaucracy of CB Richard Ellis, biggest commercial real estate firm in the world, and get an internship there. And I was just having trouble. So out of frustration, I walked into this little boutique brokerage firm, and I just walked into the bullpen and said, my name's Erik. I'm a student at the University of Washington. I'm here to work for free. Who wants to take me? That's they raised
awesome.
Their hands.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. My intro into real estate is completely different. I leaned on, my good friend and the backbone of all his hard work. I originally got into the fitness industry, which started in high school. Worked my way up in that industry, and then started opening my own gyms with a couple partners. Did that for a while. Was fairly successful, but just realized that wasn't the path that I wanted to continue. And there was a ceiling that I wanted to reach, and I'd have to open a lot of gyms to do that. So Erik and I have known each other since 14, so we've always been in contact. I went off to college down in Florida and stayed in contact with him. always interested in what he was doing, saw him in real estate, and I saw all the hard work he was doing as well too. So then there was an opportunity where I exited the fitness industry. I had my partners buy me out, and I called up Strom. I said, "Hey man, I want to learn what you're doing. I'd love to invest." He said, "Great, ready to get your hands dirty?" And I said, "Let's do it." So he at that time he was coming back into the market after the Great Recession. He bought a building in 2007, 2008. We all know how that went for multi-real estate. Luckily for his grit and hard work, those actually panned out pretty well. But coming into late 2010, he was re-entering.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, re-entering the market to look to syndicate more. And that was the same timing I was asking to learn more. And he's like, I've started looking at some deals. I've got a couple of them. He went through the underwriting with me. We ended up putting an offer out on one. We were able to get the property, and then him, his dad, and myself went to work. We spent the next 6 months swinging the hammer on the entire project inside and out. That property ended up doing pretty well. It was a 6-unit apartment complex. I think we had to raise
$350,000.
$350,000.
That seems pretty small today, doesn't it?
It was the hardest
Yeah.
$350,000 we ever raised.
The only track record that he had was 2 buildings he bought that he barely skimmed by through the recession. So he didn't have the track record we have today. And I had faith in him, so I put some money in, and we're able to scrounge up the remaining amount through family and a couple friends, and very difficult to do, but
that was a weird time because we were just coming out of that recession, and real estate had a really bad name because real estate is what caused the Great Recession. And so everyone just thought of real estate as, why would I put my money there? And the stock market, had somewhat recovered, but things really hadn't taken off yet. And it was weird because I'll never forget, Erik and I were at lunch, and just the ask to look at your friend and say, well, do you want to? Do you want to put $50,000 into this project? Now when we've had 18 projects, we've had 14 exits. It's been a daily grind of honing our expertise in this industry. At the time, to be completely honest, your confidence in the market was really shaken because we had just gone through some tough times.
Right.
And during that recession, I watched a brokerage income go from $300,000-$400,000 a year, and then investing on the side, to zero.
Right.
And I had moved in with a friend. I lived in I call it a closet. It was marketed as a den, but it was just big enough to put a mattress in. I put a little IKEA curtain over it, and found a way to live off of $1,200 a month. When 680 of it was going towards a BMW lease from when I was a broker that I couldn't get out of.
Right.
So it didn't leave a lot of meat on the bone to have a dating life or to eat anything outside of dollar store food and canned goods.
But those are the lessons that when I go to look to invest in somebody, I was like, tell me your failures.
Yeah.
Because
I got a laundry list of them.
Yeah. But we all do here. But because of that failures, we look at projects differently. We look at investments differently. We have a different lens that we look through those glasses. But you take somebody who's always had success, they just kind of like high rolling flow. Everything always comes. The crash is coming. And if you invest with those people, you're probably going to lose.
I had a really smart mentor early in my career, and he said, look, price is actually relatively forgiving. Timing is not.
Right.
And this entire industry is based on surviving the winter that will always come, because real estate is cyclical in nature. And you saw a lot of people that got in during that 10-year ZERP run, where they may have started and call it 2014, 2015. And they just thought everything went up. Right. Everything was going to get better. And it was an easier market to get things done in because you had a real tailwind behind you. Rents were rising, rates were incredibly low. And during that time, Erik and I were very conservative on the underwriting still. We looked at a lot of deals and we said, gosh, we really wish that we would have bought those. But we didn't because everything that we underwrite, that scar tissue from 2008, 2009, we looked at that and we said, okay, well, what if rates go up, you know, 100, 150 basis points like they did in 2009? And what if rents go down by 20%? Can we still meet our obligations on that building? Is this still going to be a good investment? And in many cases, the answer was no. And we went on to go have another 5-6 years of you know, booming economy and low interest rates, so it would have worked out. But you have to know what the downside risk is, and a lot of people don't manage to that. And you're seeing an entire industry that's on its knees right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is
they bought too high, not figuring the interest rate's going to go up. The notes come due, they can't do it.
Absolutely.
And
There's so
stuck.
many.
And I feel sorry for the investors, which I want to touch right now.
Sure.
What type of investors are you looking for? I mean, what's that? Or maybe I should say, what's the ideal investor that you'd want?
That's a good question. I mean, what we're looking for is we're looking for people that we have a mutual fit with. So as much as we're selling ourselves to an investor, we're also trying to figure out, are you right for this investment? You know, do you understand the risk? Do you understand that, you know, well, we have a great track record, and on the exits, we've averaged 32% a year.
Which is amazing.
You're not always going to get that.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes things do go wrong. Do you understand the illiquid nature of what you're doing? In a great market, we may hold a property 2-3 years. And then when there's a profit to be taken, we harvest that.
Right.
But if the economy is not in that position, or, you know, we get, you know, jobs are going away, rates are going up, then you might be in for a 5 to 7 year hold.
Which I have one project that's at 6.
Well, those properties that Erik were talking about, the Market North and the Villa Maria, we bought those in 2007, 2008. And, you know, we held those for 6-7 years.
One was 7, one was 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the Villa was 9, I think. And the Villa we had a 20% a year return on. You know, because again, it goes back to, can you survive it? Can you be patient? Show up every day and execute.
If we would have had to sell that earlier, it would have been a loss.
Wow.
You know, like if we would have had to sell that 4 years into it, I mean, it would have not have been a good outcome.
And bad for the investor then too.
Absolutely. So I mean, we're looking for investors that know that. We also are looking for investors that are accredited. And that we're not taking all of their money. If somebody has, you know, if they say they're accredited, but we have a feeling that they're putting their entire nest egg into us, we really discourage that. You know, because there's things that can happen outside of our control too. You know, we could have a building that catches on fire and the policy doesn't cover the extent of the damage. There are real risks that I think people gloss over. But Erik and I, you know, as guarantors on loans, as general partners of, you know, managing members of LLCs, you know, we're on the hook at the end of the day. We've seen these things go wrong. And our investors are very close family and friends and people that we work with in the business community. And we're not good enough marketers to say that we'll just find a new crop of investors. You know, everyone's, you know, pretty much a repeat investor. And
well,
they
that
stick
says
with
a
us.
lot when you have repeat investors, because I know some that they're always looking for new ones. And I'm like, well, where's the old ones? You know, when you can say, we have a lot of repeat investors, that says they liked what you did, they trust you, they want to come back. And that's a great thing to have.
It is. I mean, and it's just it's a huge, since this organic investment growth in terms of our group, you know, most of it's been word of mouth. It's been referral. We've never advertised. So, you know, it's a humbling and, you know, I think honoring position to be in, because people are entrusting you with whatever they use money for. I mean, it's just a tool, but, you know, that's their security for their family. That could be a college education. That could be taking care of medical care for aunts, uncles, whatnot. Neither Erik or I ever have any aspirations of a private jet or, you know, fancy cars, to my knowledge. We don't have expensive watches. It's, you know, for us, it's very much about the security of our family. That is the true north, the why, you know, why we do that. And, So, that's kind of what we look for in investors too. Somebody, this is not going to be something that you're going to invest in a project to get a 10x return and go buy a Ferrari. This is not the type.
That most of those don't turn into those type of investments. I've been in a few of those and haven't seen that kind of return yet.
They don't. I mean, we're looking for on our projects, we want to be somewhere between 6 to 10% cash flow after stabilization and 15 to 25% a year total return. And if we're in that bandwidth, then we're happy. And every project is different. Some of the higher returns we've had in the past, we were in a great economy. And it's easy to say, okay, we're going to sell at this point and make 30, 40% a year in return. But our work is done. We've added the value. We've increased the rents through renovation. Had we held it another 3 years, we would have been getting market rate increases, 3 to 5% a year. And then that return would have looked more like 20, 25% a year. But it looks a lot better on a sales package and a flyer when you have a 40 and the time value of money. When we can take a profit, we always sell.
Right.
And then we can roll it into the next project, cash out, just depends.
Right. Yeah, I learned about syndication a number of years ago, and I was listening to this guy, and I was just buying single-family apartments or single-family homes. And then when I learned about syndication and how you could get into these apartments, I thought, when I look at investment, for me, I want cash flow, I want value add, I want tax breaks. And you can pretty much get all three of those in a syndication.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good vehicle for people that you're leveraging our expertise.
Right.
And one of the things that I really like about multifamily is you have various exits. Or you have various ways to make money is probably a better way to say it. You get the cash flow, you can get refinance proceeds, you can get sale proceeds. But when we were looking at single family houses, they're a great investment for many, many people.
Right.
The benefit that I see with the multifamily is that it's more of a science than an art. If you buy a house and you fix it up, you're hoping that the next person is going to come in and they're going to like the renovation you did. It's going to be
some extra money.
Yeah, and give you a little bit of extra money, but you're selling to somebody who ultimately is going to live in that home. So if you bought it as a rental and you say, hey, I've got a 10% cash on cash, great cash flow vehicle, there may not be a buyer group out there that's like, oh yeah, I would like to buy a rental. They want to buy a home.
Right.
Whereas in multifamily, it's a little more of a science.
Right.
You're basically valuing the current value of an annuity. You're saying, okay, well, if I increase rents by $100, I've created $20,000 of value. And all other things held constant, in terms of cap rates, things like that, you can project out how much money will I make if I take these actions and I execute this business plan. So there's a little more certainty. And I think Erik and I are both allergic to risk, really conservative people. So we can then model that and we can say, okay, well, if we spend $2 million on 100 units and we can increase rent by $300 a unit, then we've increased the value of the building by $6 million.
Yeah.
It cost us $2 million. We have $4 million in profit. What?
That's the beauty of that, isn't it?
There's
no guesswork that way.
Yeah, and you can have fancy, and we do have complex financial models, but you should be able to do it in your head.
Right.
It should be simple. You should be able to do it on the back of a napkin. And then the testing that you're doing is stress testing what has to go wrong in the economy for this deal not to make sense.
Right.
And that can be rents dropping, vacancy going up, delinquency going up. It can be interest rates going up. It can be all number of factors. And then you just have to find a comfort level with, okay, how bad does it get before we're going to come home and tell our wives we can't live in this house anymore and tell all of our friends that we lost their investment. And we've never had to do that. We've never had to do a capital call. We've never lost money on a deal. The worst return that we had was 15% a year. It's through sometimes just sitting on the sideline. And we did that for the last 3 years. We didn't buy anything until this year. And it was just, we couldn't get comfortable with paying what other people would pay.
Right.
Because we didn't see the value there. And now we do.
But you can sleep well today.
you can sleep well.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric and I still would look at the operations of the current
Yeah.
portfolio and say, this market sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the market's been awful, with increased interest rates. We tried to get ahead of that with some refinances. Debt service payments were up. Since by nature being vertically integrated, we push rent so hard all the time. When you do see a national print that rents have gone down 1%, that typically means that our portfolio may have gone down 10 or 15% because we were always at the top of the market. And it's not just this aggregate of every owner in America. So,
Right.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't see, is that every single morning at 10 o'clock, we're looking at the portfolio and talking to our management team and analyzing small things. How many inquiries did we get? How many applications did we get? How much have we gotten in rent collections? And it's just those small details that contribute to the overall health of a portfolio that we're managing.
I like what you said about the science of. And it reminds me of the book called The Science of Getting Rich by Waddles, written in, I think, in 1908. But really, they're having a science of doing something that it's there. You know the metrics. If I do this, I do this, I do this. This is the outcome.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and that comes from experience as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
We've been doing this for 18 years, and we've made mistakes. We've learned from those mistakes. But it's a mixture, data and just experience, and it's kind of where you create the science out of it, because we run the data. We've had the experience of knowing if you do this, this is your outcome, and then it's just data driven from there.
Right. Right.
And it's funny because, when people get started or they say, hey, I'm going to do my first multifamily purchase, I think about it. I think about when I was in my early 20s and didn't know what I didn't know. And they'll ask, okay, what should I be aware of? And it's really tough sometimes, because it's not only the modeling and the forecasting, it's who are you picking as your partner? Who are you picking as the lender? How are you structuring the deal?
Right.
There's so much minutia and complexity that, in the grand scheme of things, from 10,000 feet, it's pretty simple.
Right.
I got a loan for 70%, I raised 30, and then I go operate it or hire a property manager.
Right.
But to really get the results out of it, you have to have a skill set that encompasses every part of the transaction.
I always tell people, they're like, hey, I want to do real estate. What do I need to do? I said, find a partner.
Yeah.
Find a partner that's already done it,
That's so true.
knows all the mistakes that you can make, and learn from them.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, I always had great mentors and partners. When I was starting, and even when Eric and I were, re-entering after the Great Recession, we still partnered with, with a couple gray hair guys that, we had co-invested with. Good friend of mine, Greg Kennedy, he had run an investment company. He's kind of semi-retired now, but, you have to listen to people that have 30 or 40 years of experiences, because it's those tribal war stories, those lessons that they learned during a downturn or a reset, and getting other sets of eyes on things that you may not know. And, our diligence process now is, it's extensive. And we read everything.
Right.
Even boilerplate.
That's what
loan
makes
documents.
you more successful too.
Well, you have to.
Yeah. One of the things I've always talked to you guys about, but when I got into it, I started it using life insurance.
Yeah.
And so I invest in the life insurance policies. They're kind of a special breed where I pretty much, most of the money goes into the cash value. And then I take that cash value and then I invested it into the syndications. And because I did that, I actually had my money working at least twice.
Well, there's some good tax benefits to that too, right?
Well, the benefit, of course, tax benefits are in the syndication.
Yeah.
But it's a little more complicated. But I actually can even write off the interest off the life insurance because I use it through my entity structures. So my entity structures borrow the life insurance money, and then I write that interest off.
Now, when you set those up, you've got to do you contribute for the first, 2, 3, 4 years?
Depending on how much money you put in.
Yeah.
initially. I've had guys I've helped that, they had 400,000 available the first year.
Wow.
So, they pulled it out, went into real estate deals.
How do you pull it out? I mean, is it because I've heard different things, but I mean, do you borrow against it? Or?
Yeah, basically you're borrowing against it. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so like say you got 100,000 in there and you want to put it into one of your syndication deals, you just get a hold of the insurance company, said, hey, send me 100,000, and then put it into that policy, or your syndication. But the beauty of it is, it's not like you're borrowing from a bank and the bank's like, hey, you need to make these payments and all this kind of stuff. I'm in control of it.
Yeah.
So I don't make payments. I hate payments. I just make my yearly interest payment. That's the only thing I make. And then the rest of the time, that money's out there working. And so
That's a cool thing, because I know you talked with us about that a long time ago, but I have never done the full research into how that works. So, I mean, if you're going to say, here's the top 3 benefits of doing this, what would the elevator pitch on doing a life insurance policy like that be?
I would say control, because you get to decide when and how much you want to make as far as payments and when you want to make them. So control is a big one. Secondly, you don't have to worry about like a payment with a bank. If you don't make a payment, it hurts your credit score.
Yeah.
No credit score issues. And probably the third thing is that it's that I call it the and effect. I'm not just making money once, I'm making money twice. And I've actually, gone in where we refinanced a project, went into another project. So I actually have dollars working 3 times, same dollars in 3 different vehicles.
Yeah, so you can manage your cash flow a lot better too. with how
Well,
you're
you
doing
can
that.
take less dollars and make them working faster. I call that money velocity. So,
Well, you make a little bit of money when you die too, right?
well, there's actually another beauty of it. So if I borrowed that money from a bank and I die, my family has to make sure that all gets paid off. Since I borrowed it through my life insurance policies, when I die, they notify the insurance companies. They make those payments first, and all the rest of the money gets sent to my family.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it bypasses all of the probate and all that?
Yeah, you aren't dealing with that, and they don't have to deal with the debts. The debts get paid off automatically, because that's what they do, is they'll pay off the debt against it, and then whatever left over is paid to the family as a death benefit. So
That's cool. So if people want to learn more about that, what do they do?
they can contact me at marlonmueller.com.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask the same question for you. So if people want to know more about Ironridge Capital and how to get involved with your syndication group, what's the best way to do that?
They can, go to our website, ironridge-capital.com, and we have our contact information on there. It's primarily a property management facing website right now, but
Okay.
we're old fashioned, a phone call, an email to either Erik and I, and it all starts with just a conversation and seeing if there's a fit.
I've known you guys for quite a few years now, and I highly recommend anyone that's looking at getting into syndications to check you guys out, because not only are you good at what you do, but you're trustworthy. And that is a huge thing in the real estate
We
business.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
And anytime you do business with anybody, with any industry, I think trust is something that should be top priority. So
Yeah.
It is, and it just goes back to the nature of the family, the friends, and the viewpoint that it is such a small community.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can look at Dallas, Fort Worth, the Seattle Metroplex, wherever you're working. It is a very small community. Even though you have millions of people living there, your reputation is all you have
That's
at
right.
the end of the day.
That's right. Well, I appreciate this time, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
we
you,
look forward to
Marlon.
doing it again.
Thank you, Marlon.
right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.